Remember to stay tuned at the end of the video for the question of the week.
Something was terribly wrong in the distant man-made spondylus solar system. One by one, the planet's central life support computers had been infected with a life-threatening virus, while the planet's surfaces had been overrun with computerized dinosaurs known as robosaurs. Under attack in his laboratory on Alpha Planet, Professor Proteus, the mastermind of the spondylus system and the founder of the Robosaur Project, suddenly realized that this deadly sabotage could only be the work of his former partner, the deranged Dr. Branius.
Years earlier, the Doctor had fled Alpha Planet after the Professor Proteus had exposed him for performing forbidden robotic experiments on human subjects. At last, he had returned to seek his revenge using the Professor's own creations. But little did he realize that Proteus had been hard at work for the past few years perfecting the ultimate robosaur, Cyborosaurus.
There was only one hope to save the spondylus system.
Cyborosaurus must be unleashed. The Dynowarz must begin.
Well, this is Dynowarz. It was released in 1990 in North America by Bandai. You might know Bandai by the titles of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, or The Adventures of Gilligan's Island if you watch The Hunt Episode 1. I actually acquired that. Dick Tracy, Super Team Games, or World Class Track Meet.
So we're playing as Professor Proteus, and obviously we're out to get Professor Branius. And basically, it starts off, you side-scroll as the person, Dr. Proteus, and then you get to your Mechazoid, or whatever, and then the game kind of takes on a different role, and it's almost two games in one.
It's most notable for its cutscenes that happen in between of you getting into the Saborosaurus and you getting out of it. And it's a very different kind of game because it has those two completely different characters with different weapons and all that.
And I love the cutscenes. It reminds me of like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and just so, I mean, basically the way the levels or the stages are set up is basically each level has a mode where you're outside in the Cybersaurus, and then you go inside to like infiltrate the lair, and you take out what, I don't know, I guess like a cell membrane, and once you do that, you leave the stage and go back to your Cybersaurus. Each level, it's a little bit longer each time. Right here, I wasn't sure what to do the first time, so I was just kind of jumping around. I wasn't sure.
What I find most hard about each level was actually the part when you're playing as Professor Proteus and you jumping around and moving platforms. I had a huge issue with doing that, with making the jumps. And
so you just saw just a moment ago, tried to make a jump and landed on a mine and ended up getting blown back into a hole and dying. Getting chased right now by a dinosaur who's hopping behind me.
Basically the best upgrade on this, I would say, is the fireball. But quite often you're stuck with the launch fist or a bomb, and I feel like the bomb is completely and utterly useless.
Yeah, the bomb, in my opinion, is the worst item, power-up weapon in the whole game. The fist is very awkward, but once you get used to it, it's actually not too bad. But at first, it's like, oh, this is horrible, but it takes me getting used to. It's not so bad. But yeah, definitely the fireballs. And each one has progressive stages of powering up, 1, 2, and 3, so that's nice too.
Basically, each level is generally the same with destroying the cell membrane. You go through some levels, you destroy the same thing over, just a different scene, more or less.
So we're on stage 3 now. It's changed to more of a blue color palette. You know, the game's repetitive, but at the same time, it's still enjoyable. Right now we're going against another Cybersaurus, and basically the fist is good here because you can duck down below his projectiles and just basically fist him in the knees, as awkward as that is. And onwards to victory, you know?
I don't know about you, but I had, like, this part I had quite a bit of issues. We had to cut out quite a few scenes with me just falling.
Yeah, because how he jumps is he actually bends his knees, so it's a little bit different from your normal NES title in the jumping department. I struggled with the moving platforms a little bit at first, but eventually I got better at it. This is actually footage of Jacob, just so you know. He played basically stages 2 through 6. I played stages 1 and 7, I believe.
Yeah, I took a complete collection of me just falling down, killing myself, and all my blunders about my jumping style.
That's evidence that I edited this video for cart collectors. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had all those deaths of Jacob.
Yeah, I'd make sure of that.
So level 4, we currently have Fireballs level 2. It's almost like a semi-spreader, and we just obtained Fireballs level 3, which is like a true spreader. If you play Contra, you know what I mean. And it's the best weapon to have in the game. Now we're stuck with the bomb, which is just a lobbing effect. Now this boss is a pterodactyl, not an aerodactyl, and had the fireballs, and he's pretty easy to beat with the fireballs. Now if you have the fist, the pterodactyl can be pretty tough to beat.
I think this is part of the collection of me dying. Tyler got pretty good at those jumps. He didn't die that many times, as much as I did.
You just seem to struggle to get a feel for it, but you know, we all have our strengths and weaknesses in retro gaming. Now these floating guys, they aren't too tough. It's just basically they're decently elusive, so it's a matter of just getting your shot lined up on them. And yet another cell membrane. The only differences on these final bosses for these levels are basically the layout of the room. Sometimes it's laid out in a way that you have a protection barrier with a wall, or at least a semi-wall, and there are other times when it's just so much going on and so many things trying to shoot you that if you're not careful, you'll run out of energy really fast. Now this is a nice battle scene here.
It's very hard to kill the pterodactyls with the fist just because of its awkward pattern of coming back to you, and it just goes right around you. It's like a boomerang. It just goes right around the enemy, and you just erg. But in this scene, I had we had the beam, which for whatever reason destroyed him really quickly. It must have been just barely hitting him on the way back, so he was constantly hitting as he was flying away.
Or it's like the one thing that pterodactyls are just totally vulnerable. So, doing great with the jumps here. You're doing really not, I mean, yeah.
Here's the collection I was telling you about. Sit back and enjoy.
Ah! 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 I'm referencing Impossible Mission, by the way. Woo! You did it!
That game was so funny when you die.
Impossible Mission was amusing. Yeah, if only it was a little bit better, we would do a review on it. But it's not really playable.
Yeah, it sucked.
Alright, level 5. There's 7 levels in total, as I previously... Now Level 6, there are 7 levels as I previously mentioned. Right now, just jumping across some icy platforms. However, the ice does not affect your movement skills. Right there, you just saw him. He tried to take me on, and then he decided he'd much rather just commit suicide and basically pulled a Farnsworth and said I would no longer want to live on this planet.
I think it was in stage 7 that actually more Bulbasaurs seem to want to do that. Just kind of jump away from you and just don't even want to mess with you.
They just become very intimidating in levels 6 and 7. I guess they realize we mean business and we're not going home until we beat the game.
If you can tell that these like little bits right before the boss, they can get very intense. It takes us a while to get through each individual one.
In the video, it looks considerably easier than it is, but as Jacob said, it is quite intense, and your energy bar doesn't drain quickly. It's actually quite generous in that manner, but it's just so much. It's like just a barrage of projectiles. And you just gotta keep your cool.
Onwards to level 7. I really despise those little guys just because they're really hard to hit. Oh, he's having a jumping fit.
And he's dead now. So this is the final. This is the final Cybersaurus fight. We didn't have a power up here, so all we could do was punch. So we're just ducking and punching and punching. He just keeps hopping over us, and he deals a little bit of damage. But overall, with that strategy of just ducking and punching him in the knees, not too difficult.
Yeah, it's especially nice that the energy bar is very generous.
So I went ahead and sped up this video portion because I wanted to show all of the lair for level 7. So I went ahead and super speeded it so you could see the full extent of what it's like. This obviously has the most parts to the lair. You have to go through the most amount of screens, which obviously makes sense with it being the 7th and final level. And the final boss, it's quite a sight to be seen. It's the same thing as every other boss. Or, well, I guess it's not really a boss as much as it's an objective.
It's kind of disappointing, to be honest, that all the bosses were the same. I wish it was a little bit more creative. Like I know, like as your Bulbasaurus, that you verse different robots, but I just wish it was a little bit more creative with when you're playing as Professor Proteus.
One of my favorite robot dinosaurs, though, was definitely the Robo Dino wielding a grenade launcher. So that's Dynowarz, and I had to take over for Jacob because he couldn't handle level 7.
Yeah. Congratulations, you finished another great game from Bandai.
I don't think I've finished any other games by Bandai.
Because they all suck.
Well, I almost finished Dr. Nah, just kidding.
Why would you even want to play that game?
I declined to comment.
I mean, heck, the cane can't even... It's a weapon, but it won't do anything.
This is about Dynowarz, Jacob, not Dr. Jack and Mr. Alright. So the ending little title card screen thing, it's nice. It's yeah. So the game's difficulty, you couldn't tell in our video, but well, you might have been able to tell. You pretty much get unlimited continues, and every time you die, the password for the stage comes up. And thank goodness for the developers at Bandai. They made a 4-digit password system instead of a 32-digit password system, which it seems like a lot of NES games have. So you can just pretty much pick up right where you left off if you remember to write your passwords down, and so it makes the difficulty level of this game not too bad. Certainly easier than Arkista's Ring.
Kiss Ring was a pain, but we'll provide a link at the end of the video so you can watch that if you haven't yet.
So that wraps up our review this time. So until next time, I'm Tyler.
And I'm Jacob.
And we are the
Cart
Cart Collectors.